Let's move on to the third section of the Nritta from the dance film Awakening. In this section, where I use the motif of the Mudra Shikhara to move through a section, the choreography has various reasons for why they feature in the dance film. In this particular section, where Nayika is very angry, I'm using these movements to suggest a questioning of Krishna, the why that she asks of his actions. So all of those movements come back to that question, why. That choreography of why movements are connected to concepts is for another series, another day. Let us now focus on the technique that you need to deliver the Shikhara part of the dance Nritta. So here, the first movement is an opening. Again, in this, I'm using movements of the spine which have an undulation without a collapse. So if I were to do this with a collapse or rounding of the shoulders, then I will not get the power aesthetic that I'm looking for this character. So even in those undulating movements where I'm using the core to move forward and backward, my centering is what allows for that swaying of my spine and keeping the chest open. Now, a lot of dancers, when I started with my students as well, when I would say keep the core up, the chest open, the natural movement that they would do, if I can use her as an example. So Kripa, can you show me how you would have done when you joined me if I were to tell you open the chest? So you see what she's doing. She's pulling her shoulders back and popping her chest up. As a result, I'm going to turn her. All the tension is funneling into her lower back and she's got a big arch, and without the pelvic tuck, all the tension is going to funnel to her lower back, and over time it's going to lead to problems in the lower back, which might then lead to all kinds of problems, knees, ankles, and so on and so forth. So the chest movement can only happen if the first movement, which is the tucking of the pelvis, what does it mean to tuck the pelvis? So let's again go back to the 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. If I were to look at the clock, there is a 12 o'clock and a 6 o'clock as well. So if I were to turn to the side and allow the movement to go towards 6 o'clock, what does that mean? It means I'm going to stick my butt out. That is towards 6 o'clock. Now if I were to take the pelvis, which is like a bowl, it's just like a large bowl, and if I were to tuck it towards 12 o'clock, which is up here, then this is the rocking movement of 6 and 12. Because when you're in this deep squat and you don't focus on tucking your pelvis, you're going to start sticking your butt out. You're going to leave it there, and then because it's going to throw you forward, you are going to bring your chest back. And here you have created a nice cesspool for a lot of back problems. Lower back problems which follow the knee problems and so on and so forth. So the basis of a lot of understanding is the clock. The 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So the 12 and the 6 allow you to tuck the pelvis. So when I have any sort of movement where the chest has to go forward and backward, notice that my back is moving as one unit. I'm not collapsing in it, where my hips, everything has its own little kacheri going on. So you have to have all body parts aligned so that you can move against it. And the lower parts of your body are your support for this movement. So while it looks like a simple movement, this is a very advanced movement. So girls, can we do this? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that tak, ka, di, mi. Again is a movement that looks like I am using this entire arc in front of me and around me to create it. Most of the times if you look at strong movements, they will only stay at the shoulder level and higher. So this hand will never drop from the level of the shoulder, though it appears as a very large movement. So when they deliver it, remind them that they need to never drop below the shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of those kinds of movements involve what is called twisting, anti-rotation, whatever it is that one side is holding and you're turning against it. You're creating an internal rotation that allows you whatever the movement is. This hand is your anchor, strong. So with this, I'm creating movements where I'm pulling, I'm creating torsion, whether it is this side or that side. And this shoulder, if I hike it, then again it's going to not allow me to relax in it. So the shoulder holds down, only the elbow and the wrist stay up, very, very stable. This whole hand is holding down. So that. Whatever my movement, however much I move this hand, whatever I turn, this hand is going to stabilize. Of course, there will be some movement because the whole body is moving, but it is your stabilizing hand. The neglected side. I request dancers to look at the side that is not moving, because the most of the attention bagging that happens is this hand, because it is doing all the movement, and the only thing that this poor hand will get is please keep it. But that please keep it is what allows this to be showcased. So spend a lot of time in the holding and understanding of how you hold positions so that the movement can be showcased. Okay, can we see that whole unit once together, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the third section, which was followed by the ending movement and the pose. Again, this pose, it's important. It's almost like a warrior 2 stance, the Virabhadrasana. So again, you want nice open position. You don't want to stick your butt out, so that you get that line forming and the chin that follows through and looks at that hand that is above. I hope you've enjoyed watching the 3 sections of awakening and you have derived some ideas for your own dancing, your own techniques, and look forward to seeing you on our next series. Namaskar. Let's recap the main points. Movements echo mood in choreography. Activate the core during all movements. Keep the chest open without scrunching the back. The pelvis tucks to 12 o'clock during movements. Move from the waist as one unit. Anchor the supporting arm in such movements and lower the shoulder blades. 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock face forward in such movements. I hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Deconstructing Choreography. Continue watching the next episode right here on the Inner Circle.